Good evening, viewers, and many thanks for joining us on this webinar on a healthy mind in a healthy body. My name is Nitin Parthe, and I am the director of the 4 schools of Rajasthani Sammelan Education Trust, and I'm principal of Mainadevi Bajaj International School. We are well into the third month of the lockdown, and at some level, it feels like we have cozily settled down into this new way of living. And on the other level, there are layers of anxiety and stress. We do not know how long this is going to last and what lies on the other side. And when all this worry is gripping our minds, what kind of effect is it having on our bodies? What is it doing to our children in particular? How well are they coping with it? Are we taking appropriate care of them? Are we feeding them well? Are we giving them sufficient exercise? One thing that this lockdown has surely done is it has added new dimensions to our food and physical habits. Okay, for instance, I wake up at 5:30 in the morning and I will do guided meditation for almost 45 minutes, and the evening I will do a regular walk. Some of us are doing regular exercises while others are putting on weight. And without doubt, food has become a major consideration in our lives. So the question that is occupying us, have we got it right for ourselves and our children? Well, help is at hand. Today, I have with me 2 specialists, Kruti, who is a physiotherapist, and Shreya, who is a nutritionist. Kruti and Shreya, welcome to this webinar on
Thank you, sir.
healthy mind in a healthy body. Now, let us start with some personal questions here. Now, Kruti, will you please describe how your personal life has changed during this lockdown?
So I think as a mom of 2 little girls, the biggest change has been I'm getting so much more time with my girls, with the kids, and this is something as a professional I don't think I've got since they were born. So the best thing about the lockdown has been that getting more time with them means I can actually do all the things that I thought that a good parent should do. Now each parent always questions themselves that are we doing enough, like you said before. So I think personally it's only been much more positive than anything else. Of course, I do miss going to work, but I think personally it's been great to spend time with the family.
I think that has happened to all of us, hasn't it, Kruti and Shreya,
Yeah.
that we are spending some more time with our family. My
Yeah.
90, my 93-year-old mother always complains that she doesn't get to see me often.
Wow.
But right now, I mean, I'm with her for all meals and like we are together all the time. So I think it has happened to all of us. Shreya, how about you? How has it changed your personal life?
So definitely there's good amount of time that we are spending with our family and with our parents, and that has also made me understand that what all things or how our life changes when we discuss few things with them and sort it out when our own life is probably on a personal front or on a professional front is not working so well. Along with that, on a personal life, I have got good enough of time to work on my hobbies as well, which was kind of being not a priority when I was working or when I was traveling for my work schedules and stuff like that. But now I've got good enough time to explore and get back to my hobbies, especially cooking, and I'm trying out all possible recipes which are basically healthy, and definitely which we used to eat outside, but now since we are in, those kind of food and recipes are something which we all needs to be trying out. And I am sure most of the people have also got into their kitchen and trying out new recipes and new foods which they love and which they may think that okay might be healthy or which they are craving for. So that's one thing which has happened. And another thing is, yes, emotionally I've become more stable, because what happens when you are traveling around or when you have work stress or there are when there are a lot of emotional ups and downs. So when you're at home, when things are pretty easy, when you talk it out to a person or to a family member, it becomes easier. So that is what has happened with me on a personal front.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, it is allowing us to touch base with some of our likes and our dislikes. We are exploring our hobbies as well as I think once we have settled into this lockdown, we're becoming more calm. That anxiety and that, the state of panic seems to have passed. And I think we are accepting that this is our life. Okay. Now, in terms of your professional life, both of you are uh, people's oriented kind of professionals. Okay.
Yeah.
And then how does this pan out under a lockdown? Kriti, shall we start with you?
Yes, sir. So like, I think all of us here talking right now are obviously people's, person, and treating, as a physio, I'm meeting up to 20, 30, 40 people a day sometimes. So I definitely miss that interaction. But luckily, we are in an era where we have these gadgets for virtual consults. So the first 4 weeks, I managed to do quite a few of those. And I think that that's purely to help out people that are sitting at home in pain and didn't know what to do and where to go. So, I've been blessed to be in an industry that I can help people who are in pain. And I've been lucky, and it was a personal choice for me to open up. So I've opened up my center for very limited hours, about 30% of my usual work hours, 3 days a week. So I've just opened up 3 weeks ago for people that are really, really badly in pain and that need to come to a physio. So I'm actually working now 3 days a week.
I think all of us have had to change our professional lives to quite a bit of an
Yeah.
extent. Like, for instance, you said that you see up to 30 people per day, and I think I see a few thousand students every day, and I
Wow.
miss that so much. I think, but I mean, that's a reality. You sit at
Yeah.
home, and I think you get to see some of them in online learning, but it's
Yeah.
not the same. But such is life, right?
Yeah.
Shreya, how about you? How has your professional life changed?
So my clinic was anyways online because most of my clients are everywhere, all across the globe. One thing which has changed at this point of time is, yes, like Kriti also said, it's more of virtual. I'm educating people across India. I'm doing webinars almost every week. So in a week, there might be 3-4 webinars which I'm doing. Along with that, I'm going live on Facebook or Instagram and talking a lot about other things, which people should understand, and people, it's the need of an hour, because corona has made us understand that okay, how our body is so important, and what we eat is also plays a major role with regards to how our body functions, whether it's with regards to the personal or emotional way, or maybe physical way, or any other thing for that matter. And along with that, I've tried, and I'm trying to read as much as possible, because that was one thing which was missing out on. But I'm reading a lot with regards to anything. It can be either a personal thing, maybe any book, or on a professional front, any book which I've been not reading, or which I was not giving much of attention. So I'm back on that. So that's what I'm doing on professional front.
Great. Thanks to Kriti and Shreya for your personal and professional and backgrounds. Let's get into the meat of the things and of this seminar. First of all, Kriti, will you let me know what effect does inactivity have on one's body and muscles?
So inactivity, I guess by definition, really is not moving enough. So, I mean, even if you get out of bed, brush your teeth, have a shower, go to the dining table and have a meal, that's still called being active to some extent. On top of that, if you're a child, you play. If you're or you go to school. If you're an adult, you go to work. And if you're a homemaker, you start doing house chores. That's the additional activity. So really speaking, inactivity really means that you're not being active as much as what your body's true capacity is.
Right.
So say, for example, before the lockdown, if you were used to doing 10 things in a day, and after the lockdown, you're actually restricting to just 2 or 3, that can be called as being inactive. So really, if you are being inactive, your body starts to, by definition, call decondition. So deconditioning means you start losing the important parameters of the body, like your strength, your stamina, your flexibility, and overall your cardiovascular fitness. So really what it does, and this happens in the 7 day, but by the 7th day itself, mind you. So say, for example, now we've been in lockdown for almost 8 weeks.
Yes.
If someone's been inactive, by the end of the first week, they'll start seeing changes in the body, like lack of energy, lethargy, mood swings, irritability, and of course, weakness, which is, what they could do with ease before, they are finding it slightly hard to do. It could be as simple as climbing one flight of stairs. Before, they might not be huffing and puffing. And if they've been very inactive for a week, in a week's time, they'll start huffing and puffing on stairs. So we call it.
It almost sounds scary, huh? That by the 7th day there is some kind of a
change.
muscle toning goes and aging that takes place, and it might take a while before we can, get
Yeah,
back to being fit and normal. And you're saying that, it's really important that we do not allow such kind of atrophy to take place within
correct.
the period, because, like you said, it's 8 weeks, not 7 days any longer. Yeah,
It's a long time.
I know. Shreya, can you just cast some light on how food habits may change under inactivity?
So, food habits wise, there is one thing which has drastically changed during this lockdown is our sleeping pattern. We are not sleeping on time, we are not getting enough of sleep, and that does take a toll on our eating habits as well. But we rarely realize it because we tend to be so much busy in our other things or prioritizing other things that we don't understand that, okay, what kind of effect it is having on our body if you're not sleeping well. So the first thing what happens is our caffeine consumption goes up because we need to be mentally active when we are working. Okay, so ultimately, if I was having 2 cups in a day of coffee or tea, that has gone up to 3 to 4 cups in a day, which also increases your metabolism. It also makes you anxious. Okay, apart from that, we start craving for foods which are not necessary. We start binge eating because we are up till late night. So maybe after our dinner, if you're feeling hungry, then at that point of time, we tend to binge eat, or we tend to eat on something which is definitely not healthy, and which is basically to make us sure that, okay, we will get good sleep, or we our mind is basically calmed down. So that is another thing which happens. Apart from that, physical activity basically releases a cortisol hormone, okay, which is a stress hormone. And along with that, when, sorry, not physical activity, but good feel good hormone, right? So when that happens, there are a lot of toxins which are released from our body, and it makes us feel good. So that's also something which is, people are not taking care of. And second thing is, we are not drinking enough of water because we are at home. There is no physical activity, and if you compare when you work out and when you not work out, there's an extra liter of water which goes in the body when we are working out. So if we are sitting at home and we are working, then at that point of time, I think everyone should make sure that they are drinking enough of water throughout the day, no matter what the consequences are, to make sure that we are healthy, and it's basically not hampering our body or our lifestyle.
Right, Shreya, and I'm glad you pointed out what can be, like, what inactivity can do and how we can get into these bad food habits. And these kind of food habits, when you look through all the internet, you see that, they are coming up with all kinds of jokes about how you could enter your house very easily as during the lockdown, but now you're
Yeah,
eating so much of a period of time that the doors will have to expand now before they let you out. Now,
right.
one thing is that, I've always believed that, you have to practice what you preach. And
Yes.
as an educator who is running schools and a principal, I still believe that the essence of education is in the classroom. So I make sure that I'm in a classroom every day, at least for 2 classes. So in the practicing of your profession, Kriti, how do you practice what you preach? How do you keep yourself fit in the first place so that you can advise other people well?
So I think as a physio, again, I'll come back to myself. As a physio, we have to be very physically strong because I'm constantly treating people with my hands, and I'm constantly standing for 8-10 hours a day. So when I was working, thankfully, I was already active because I was on my feet 8-10 hours a day. Plus, I was obviously able to do, when I'm demonstrating, I land up exercising partially, not as much. But still, what I wasn't getting was enough amount of 45 minutes to an hour of a workout that I would like on most days. So I think what I'm doing now, thankfully, since the lockdown is, since I have time, we have been able to get access to our terrace. We're the lucky ones. So we go up to the terrace. I managed to work out, but the beauty of it has been the kids are also watching and they're working out with me. So again, that's the beauty of this lockdown, is that I don't think I ever imagined my 6-year-old and my 4-year-old working out with me. But the best thing is, like I said, I'm able to even create new exercises for my patients whilst I'm working out because I can feel that exercise. And unless I feel it, I can't prescribe it. So really, I think me working out is something that's the beauty of this lockdown. And I hope to continue even after. Any which ways, I used to love working out, but time was a big factor. So I think the beauty of the lockdown is that everybody has time. So there is no reason to say, sorry, we don't have time.
Yeah.
Except for if you're working from home and doing house chores, I completely understand. but still I'm sure there is a bit of time because we're saving on travel.
Absolutely. Kriti, not only are you practicing what you preach, but you are also including your children, and you're coming up with exercises that children could practice. I wonder if you have videoed them and send it out to your friends and others who could also benefit from this new exercise.
Absolutely.
If you're not done so, I think you should start doing that.
No, absolutely. There's enough videos. So please reach out. Anyone, I'll be very happy to send out. No charges.
All right. Yeah, it's your turn now. So what is your regular diet?
So I would like to mention one thing, that there is no magic diet that a person can follow or can work for every kind of a person. With regards to my diet, it's nothing fancy. I basically make sure that I eat every 2 hours. I have 3 hours. Apart from that, am I audible?
You are. I think we are losing you from time to time, but right now I think you are fine. Please carry on.
Okay, perfect. So, working out. Along with that, I make sure that what I eat throughout the day is small and frequent, and I make sure that I take small breaks with regards to water as well. And like I said, I make sure that at least there are 2 to 3 fruits in a day, which will keep up the vitamins and the mineral levels in the body, and which will also make sure that there's sufficient amount of the natural foods which are required for the functioning. So it's not that, because I'm a nutritionist, I would not feel like having the junk food or maybe pizza or burger or pani puri. The only hack or the only good thing about my profession is I can experiment with food. So whatever things I feel like having, which are probably unhealthy, for example, if it's a pani puri or a burger or a pizza, I would change the base which makes it unhealthy. And I would choose something which is healthy, because I know that, okay, this is what my body needs, or because I know that this is something which is going to affect my body. So being in the profession helps me a lot to experiment with the food and the kind of food I eat. And like I said, the only mantra is I keep on eating frequently, and that has been over a period of time, and that has also taken care of my weight. And I don't easily put on weight, because that's not what my profession requires, me not being too fat, and that's when people will not come to me. But yeah, I mean, if you are having frequent meals, even that helps to make sure that your weight is under control, your energy levels are good, your stress is being taken care by, and all of these other things which are probably people are facing at this point of time is one thing which, contributes to everything. That's what I would say.
Shreya, listening to you gives me an idea. I think you should publish a recipe book, and the title of the book should be "How to Make Unhealthy Food Healthy." I think
I'm going to do that.
I think you'll find great following. Kriti, can you tell us what kind of exercise regime should people of different ages undertake? Is there something that some people should do and something else as some other children or older people?
Yeah. So I would say globally, health guidelines tells us that ideal, activity levels involve 10,000 steps a day. I'm sure a lot of us have heard that in the recent times. And that's why those wearable devices have come up. But I think right now, even without counting the steps, doing housework, playing with your kids, doing, regular chores around the house itself includes about, say, at least 1,000 steps minimum. All right. So just between, say, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., if a homemaker counts her steps, I guarantee you she'll cross to 2,000 to 3,000 steps mark because of the number of things she does in the house, or he does in the house. I don't want to sound just as the female working. But I think what I wanted to point out is, be it whatever age you are, number one thing that will help in actually getting those steps in and actually staying active would be doing housework. So whatever age you are, I suggest help out with housework right now, because most houses don't have their domestic help. So be it a child, be it a grandparent, be it a uncle, auntie, mom or dad, doesn't matter. Help out with housework. That's number one, because that really helps with activity, and it helps out the main member of the house that's doing more work for a thing. So if you feel that he or she is struggling, help out with housework, right? Involve the kids. That's the fantastic way to bring kids up. You're making them independent from an early age. So that's an activity and exercise in itself. The other exercise I would say is clear out your living room, and especially if you've got kids at home, clear out your living room, push all the breakable items back in the bedroom, make the living room a playground. You can kick a ball around with them. You can play, mini cricket, box cricket with them in the living room if possible. Dance with them, put some music and dance with them. These are very, very simple but effective ways to get your heart rate up and get some few minutes of good exercise. And if you still want to be very structured, then 10-minute exercises are there available right, left, and center across YouTube. But just to make sure any exercise regime, be it 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or 30 minutes, make sure you start with a good warm up, some strengthening, and a good stretch, which is a cool down. So even within 10 minutes, if you start with, say, spot jogging, that increases heart rate. Then you choose any three main muscles that you want, be it biceps, be it buttock muscles, be it back muscles or leg muscles. Choose those three, do some exercises for those three in another 5 to 7 minutes, and end it with stretching those three areas. So that's a good cool down. And some deep breathing. So, that's a good 10-15 minute quick workout, really. So whatever age you are, housework, fun, and an exercise regime doesn't harm. 10 to 15 minutes minimum.
Deep breathing and exercises to stretch all of your muscles. Parents, I hope you got the message of young children. Clear away the furniture in your house and create some space for them to run around. And I'm really glad you mentioned that 10,000 steps. You are reminding us that 10,000 steps is a good thing to do. I have an eldest brother who waters the garden outside and says that, hey, I walked for 10,000, but I'm sure he's not done more than 750. So I'll take it up.
Fair enough.
Shreya, tell me, what kind of diet should be observed by youngsters, adults, and children at this point in time?
So for every age group, as per recommended dietary allowance, RDA, which is given by ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, and NIN, National Institute of Nutrition, every age group from the time the kid is born has a particular kilocalorie intake given for a day. Okay, so even if a person is not working out, or even if they are working out, so on the days when you're not working out, they should make sure that those many calories should be consumed throughout the day. Okay, for the age group which has been given. If they are working out, the one important thing what they need to understand is to add up the calories for the amount of workout they're doing. Because when you do not fuel yourself when you're working out or when you're doing any sort of physical activity, at that point of time your body goes in the catabolic stage, and that's when you next day you might not feel like energetic, or you have not recovered well from the workout, or probably you are losing your muscle mass, so which is not a good sign when you want to be fit. So like I said, there's not a magic diet for every age group. Please do not be too strict with yourself at this point of time. One thing which I want to focus on is do not try any of the fat diets which are there in the market, whether it's keto, whether it's intermittent detox diet, or any other sort of diet, because your body is not prepared for it. And the second thing is, whenever you want to try out for these kind of diets, always ask yourself, can you follow it for your lifelong? If your gut feeling tells you that no, I can't, then in that case you need to stop that thought there and there itself, and make sure that you're eating what is being cooked at home. So whatever we are getting at this point of time, normal food, try and follow that. Like I said, the golden rule is small and frequent meals, so that your energy is good, you're feeling good, your basically your mental health is good, and the most important thing now is your immunity is also good. And if you are not eating well, ultimately your immunity will also be compromised. Today we are talking about activity and food. These are the two major things which are going to take care of your immunity during this coronavirus pandemic. So if you are able to take care of it in a better way, then definitely there is no other way that you would feel the best of yourself, or whether it can be of anything, like whether it's mental or emotional or physical or any other way. So that's what. So there's just follow the guidelines which is given, and make sure that you at least meet those many calories by frequent meals.
Yeah. I think we are losing Shreya a bit, but Shreya, thank you for mentioning keto diet, and those there are some of my friends who are watching this program just now, and I think they must be having a silent laugh because they are aware that I kind of do a half keto, and there are some of my friends who also do. And you're telling
Oh,
us to
okay.
set it aside. You're telling us to set it aside for a while. But it's important that you're saying that, small and frequent meals are, I think, important at this point in time. Um,
Yes.
when you think about a physiotherapist, you're thinking about vigor, and you're thinking about stretching, pulling, jamming, and all of that thing. Okay, in this whole scenario of vigor, how important is traditional Indian things like yoga and meditation in keeping your body fit?
So these are absolutely important. I think they are being followed a lot more globally now as well, not just in India. So if you see one of the best teachers in meditation or one of the best teachers in yoga also is there globally, like, they're teaching on global platforms. So obviously it has to have some merit if it's being followed across the world. The beauty and the benefit of yoga and meditation in today's times right now and what we are is that it definitely helps in calming us down, firstly. Because all of us, whatever age we are, I mean, the kids are the luckiest, honestly. The younger kids are the luckiest because they don't know what's happening. They're oblivious. They're happy. They're happy mom and dad are at home all day. So for them, it's a nice long vacation. So they're not stressed, thankfully. Hopefully, a parent should never pass on their stress to the child. But at the same time, we all have gone through a period of anxiety, I'm sure, initially, like in the start of the lockdown. I think my first week I was in complete denial. I said, no, 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 this can't be happening. Like, no, I mean, maybe I'll shut the clinic for a week, but I'm sure I'll get back the second week. And then obviously we realized, okay, this is here to stay. This is going to take time. It takes time. Acceptance is very hard for any normal human being. But once you accept, you're much more at peace. So meditation and yoga both, one of the biggest pillars in them in their teachings is acceptance. And the other thing, like I mentioned, is calming. And if you're calm and if you're much more composed, and then when you do your work from home or your house chores or your exercises, the effect is better. Imagine working out in anxiety. Imagine working out when you're stressed. You hardly get any benefit from that workout. So what's the point? So really, I think that, yeah,
I agree with you, Priti. I think you need to have a calm mind. I think you need to shut that thinking at least for some time, and maybe yoga and meditation will stop that brain
yeah,
from racing at the speed at which it has been going. You know what, the buzzword right now everywhere has been build up your immunity. Okay.
correct.
And there are like some homeopathy pills coming out, and there is some arnica, and then there is camphora, and all those kind of thing. And there is a school of thought which says that just build up your immunity. And in terms of dietary habits, Shreya, would you suggest any kind of food supplements at this point in time to build up your immunity?
So definitely, I would suggest only three supplements which are important at this point of time. One is vitamin C, because we are not getting foods which are rich in vitamin C. It's difficult. We cannot go out and procure groceries, and even if we go out, we have to be careful about it. So 500 to 1000 mg of vitamin C is something which I would recommend. You can get a capsule from a local pharmacy, and basically if you take it once or twice in a day, even that would keep up with your immunity. At least you'll get the recommended dosage of a particular day with just that one medicine. Apart from that, I would suggest a multivitamin or a B12 supplement. So a multivitamin can be, as simple as having a Bicozul, or a B12 supplement which has somewhere around 1000 to 1200 mcg of B12, because B12's basic work is to make sure, or even a multivitamin's work is to make sure that your immunity is good, and along with that you're getting the recommended dosage of it. Because in our day-to-day lives, we tend to miss out on the micronutrients. We focus more on the macronutrients, which is our protein, carbs, and fats. But what about our vitamins and minerals, which are like the backbone of what the processes are happening inside our body? So a multivitamin maybe post breakfast or post lunch, try and make sure that there is at least 10 to 15 minutes of gap between a medicine or a supplement which you're taking and the food, so that it does not affect the absorption of the food what you're having. And one thing about multivitamin is, try and not have it post 5 o'clock in the evening. Otherwise, it might mess up with your sleep, because multivitamin and B12 supplements tend to increase your metabolism, and that will keep you awake till late night. So try and avoid it at a post in the evening hours. And the third and the most important thing is your vitamin D. When many of my clients come to me and I ask them to get the blood chemistry done, most of them, almost I would say 98% of people are vitamin D deficit. So even if they are training outdoors, or even if they are going out and walking or doing any physical activity, since we are indoor, there's not much of a sunlight exposure, because that's the easiest and the cheapest vitamin D source for us. So you can start anything which has 5,000 IU of vitamin D, have it before going to bed with 1 glass of milk, or maybe with a bowl of curd, because vitamin D gets absorbed with a combination of calcium. So if you have both the things in line, definitely your vitamin D levels are going to go up. Another interesting thing about vitamin D is, as per research, if your vitamin D deficit and if you tend to get cold and cough, if you have a higher dose of vitamin D, you will feel much better, or it will improve the immunity. So when you're having these three, so these three are the most important supplements which you can go in for, and that you can procure from any of the local pharmacies. Don't have to order anything from Amazon, but these are the ones which are very, very crucial and important at this point of time.
Thank you, Shreya. It's interesting. You're saying that vitamin B, C, and D are really the key food supplements that you could be looking at. It's really surprising with vitamin D in a tropical country. A couple of months ago, I was with a doctor, and she has two teenage children, and they are both footballers. She said they spend so much time outdoors, and you'd be surprised that yet both of them are vitamin D deficient. And that's like amazing. And imagine us who are not exposed to so much sun. So thank you for that advice. Yeah. Let us look at a slightly grim scenario now. Kruti, what is likely to happen if you become lethargic during this period of time and do not take adequate exercise?
So again, this would be very age related. With kids, luckily, their inherent nature is to move. So they are constantly moving, they're running around. And I'm talking kids lower than 10. The kids above 10 or the teenage ones are obviously very glued to their gadgets, or being forced to do that because of the way schooling has become. But I think the younger kids are naturally moving, which is great. So let them move. Like I said before, create space for them in the house so they can move. Or if they can, if they're allowed to go downstairs to play or up to the terrace to play, go with them. So I think they are safer. They are better at moving around. The slightly older kids, which is 10 and above, or the teenage ones, the adolescents, they are obviously, the adolescent obesity has increased in India by almost 25 to 30%, as you know, Shreya. So really, I think sadly, that does include the kids that are not into sport or any kind of physical activity. Now with lockdown, anyways, they're restricted. So really, I think what will happen in these kids is that if their weight has increased, their concentration levels will go down, their mood swings will increase, the crankiness, the stubbornness, the rebellion will kick in. And of course, if they're eating the wrong kind of foods on top of not exercising, the risk of obesity and increasing weight is a lot more. So I think that's the biggest risk in the kids of that age group. Now let's talk about adults. I mean, for adults, like I mentioned before, deconditioning is definitely going to start. So say, for example, somebody in there between that 35 to 45, if they're used to moving around and exercising, and for whatever reason, lethargy is kicked in and they're not exercising, they are going to start losing muscle mass. They're going to start losing cardiovascular fitness. So they'll start huffing and puffing in just a few steps of, uphill or climbing up and down stairs. So really, I think all of this deconditioning is clearly not great for both heart and immunity. And like Shreya said before, right now, we need an immunity that's top notch. So how can we not exercise? I mean, every single platform be it social media, be it television, be it the messages coming on the phone from the government. Everybody is talking about keeping your immunity up. So exercise is the one of the only, there's only two things, there's diet and exercise. So if you are lethargic, better now than never to start exercising, because the immunity cannot be dropping.
Kriti, thank you for painting that grim scenario. I think it was important to send that message out that, you better get up and get going, or else you're going to experience, long-term damage. Children are going to get cranky, they're going to get impatient, and then they're going to add to the bunch of obese people who are around us. Shreya, under this lockdown, can you highlight some of the bad food habits that we are likely to get into? Kriti, it looks like we have lost Shreya for a bit.
Yeah.
While we have lost her, could you speak about some workouts that can be done within a few minutes?
Yeah. So like I had said before, even if it's a 10 to 15-minute workout, say for example, you choose that I'm going to go up to the terrace, I'm going to put some music on. Start with a normal warm-up. It could be just spot jogging. It could be just moving your shoulders and arms, in circles, literally for like 2 to 3 minutes. Anything that gets your heart rate up, anything that gets your heart pumping, anything that breaks you out into a sweat is called a warm-up. Okay. You need to start feeling warm. If you're wearing 2 layers of clothes, after a warm-up, you need to feel like I want to remove my top layer pretty much.
Yes.
So that's a warm-up. So 5 to 6 minutes of a warm up is great. That's good enough. That pumps blood. Then you start with strengthening exercises. So you can do anything that includes things like push-ups, squats, lunges. It could be anything that involves big muscles in your body, like your arms, your legs. You can do sit-ups, you can do crunches, you can do, Superman poses. Any of these, big muscles that are being used is called strengthening. So 10 minutes of strengthening, good enough. You've gotten your day's work of strengthening. And you end it with a good stretch. So stretching will break down any tightness in the body. And it's a very feel-good factor as well. When you stretch out something that's tight, whatever little pain you might have had in the body, that goes as well. So you end it with a good cool down or a stretch. And that would definitely help in terms of ending the exercise regime. So that's a usual 15-20 minute exercise regime. Now, like I said before, this is for somebody who's structured, who's somebody who's not structured but just wants to get some exercise and fitness in. Dance. And I'm saying this on this platform more than any other is because we have parents and kids here. Dance has been proven to really remove any stress and anxiety and produce those happy hormones. And it's a great bonding session because I can tell you I do this with my kids and we love it. So we have a Google Home at home. And my girls know how to talk to Google. Google only listens to my daughters, not to me. So they play the song and we dance for 15-20 minutes and we're all sweaty. So I think any exercise that's making you sweat and also happy, you feel good after it, is great exercise.
Thank you so much. I think dancing or calisthenics, they sound like such a good thing to do because you don't need to structure yourself very much. And here we have got lost and found Shreya. Shreya, it's good to have you back. The question that I was asking you at that point in time is, what are some of the bad food habits that we are likely to get into during lockdown?
So a few of them I've already mentioned. One is your caffeine intake going up because sleep is compromised on. Second thing is you'll end up binge eating with the foods or for the foods which are not necessary. Third thing is you will not take care of your water intake or your hydration. Also, you will end up, skipping some meals because and most probably your breakfast, because breakfast is the first and the foremost and the most important meal of the day. So if you're not sleeping well, if your sleep cycle is disturbed, if you get up late, then at that point of time you tend to skip one of the meals, and that is not a good habit which you need to focus on at this point of time. You need to make sure that you're eating all the major meals throughout the day. And apart from that, just to chill out or just to relieve our stress, some people might also go into increasing their alcohol consumption. So that might also have, which is also another bad habit, I would say, which will ultimately take a toll on your immunity, will take a toll on your body as well. So these are few of the food habits, and one of them is also trying out new food, new diets for that matter, is something which should be avoided at this point of our.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good point, Shreya, good point. So youngsters and older people go down on the spirits. This is not the right time to be doing it. Yeah. Kriti, you've been talking about dancing and stretches and Superman and all of this thing. And when you're doing all of this in this time of lockdown, what happens if somebody sustains some kind of an injury?
So great question, because I just had somebody this week who came in because she attempted yoga at home from a virtual class that she joined in. And that was 7 in the morning, and she had just got out of bed without a warm up and kick-started her class. So that's very common again. So my first tip would be prevention better than cure. But if you do sustain an injury, the first 24 to 48 hours, the simple rule is rest and ice. If the area is painful or swollen, rest it, ice it. If it's a lower body area like your hip, knee, or ankle, definitely reduce on the walking or weight bearing. Rest and ice it for 24 to 48 hours. And if you see the pain and swelling go down consistently, that means you're healing and it's nothing major, nothing sinister, nothing serious. If by day 3 things don't change, then time to investigate. Pick up the phone and call anybody that you would like to, be it a doctor like a GP, or an ortho that is accessible on the phone, or a physio. So call these people who are equipped to diagnose your issue even virtually if possible. And worst case, obviously, if it's a fracture, you need to definitely go to an emergency department, go to a non-COVID hospital, please, because this is something that's not going to require more than a few hours, and you don't want to be waiting in a long line in a COVID hospital. So really, the injury to any of the areas really needs 24 to 48 hours of monitoring by yourself without you having to rush somewhere. Resting and icing is the main top two things. But like I said, my main top tip is prevention better than cure. And the best way to prevent an injury is to not try something that's completely new to you. Because a lot of people are trying out a lot of new classes online, which are now thankfully free. Lovely organizations and brands are giving out free classes, but does not mean that you have the body or the capacity to do it without somebody just saying, yep, you're strong enough, please do it. So don't try anything new just yet.
Thank you, Kriti. Great advice. Don't push yourself beyond your capacity is the first point. Secondly, if you do hurt yourself, if you're not dying or if you're not broken something, then rest and ice yourself for some time. And then also avoid a COVID hospital. And that's really important. We already spoken about too much about eating and about health, keeping healthy with exercise and all that kind of thing. Shreya, what do you think, what kind of effect has food on the emotional health of children and adults? How important do you think is this emotional health aspect at this time?
So definitely what you eat has a lot of impact on how you think, how your brain functions. There is a definite mind to gut connection, what I call it. And when we eat something which is probably, say, maybe a junk food, ultimately it has some or the other effect on how we think or on our emotions. But on the other side, emotional status wise, yes, there are certain foods which make sure that you're emotionally stable, you get good sleep. And I have myself and even couple of my clients notice it when I tell them that, okay, this food is gonna help or work in this way. And when they try and analyze their body with the food that they have eaten with the similar effect, then they get to see it themselves. So it's not something which is rocket science. And whenever, the simplest example of this is, whenever we think about something, it's always like, okay, this is a gut feeling, right? So that itself tells us that, okay, there is a connection. So yes, like I said, so the most important thing is what you eat, also takes a toll on what you think apart from your physical body or physical body composition. So the things which you can incorporate at this hour, or the food tips which I would like to suggest is probably have 2 walnuts before going to bed so that it will give you good sleep. You can also have chamomile tea. Some of you might have heard of it, some of you might not. So chamomile is basically a flower which takes care of your stress levels. It takes care to calm you down, especially when you're feeling stressed out or anxious. So these kind of foods definitely help you to make sure that your emotional status as well as your physical status is in a good health.
That's good advice, that what you eat definitely has an impact on how you think, what you think, and how stable your emotional state is. Kruti, how important do you think is emotional health of children during this lockdown period?
Exceptionally important, Nitin sir, is because kids. It's monkey see, monkey do for kids. Really, what they see us as parents do is what they will do. So if I'm not working out and I'm being lethargic and I'm just sitting in front of the telly all day, trust me, your child is going to do exactly that. And if I'm looking at a parent that's constantly stressed out or never smiling, I remember this very clearly, because I think a few weeks ago my older one did ask me, Mama, you never smile. What happened today? They notice you. She's only 6 and they notice you. So really, if you are somebody who's stressed out or always in a bad mood or comes across as grumpy all day, clearly your child's going to get impacted because they want a happy parent. Happy parents make happy kids. Simple rule. So if you are working out, you are eating healthy, they're going to do the same. But if you're sitting and not working out and being lethargic and you're binge eating, unhealthy food, like Shreya mentioned, clearly your thinking capacity has gone down, and so is your child's. So it's very simple rule in parents with kids and in those houses. I know I'm probably putting a lot of pressure there on parents, but it's clear, what you see is what you do as kids, and sadly we parents have the onus of teaching them the right thing. So emotionally we need to look after ourselves a lot more right now, just so our kids are better emotionally as well.
Thank you so much. I think keeping emotional health in place is such an important part of managing ourselves during this lockdown. Shreya and Kruti, that has been a wonderful session. I think you have given advice to our viewers on what to eat, how much to eat, at what time to eat, what are the food supplements. You have also spoken about the nature of exercises to be undertaken. I think there was element of fun also that you were trying to introduce, Kriti, when you say just dance, just do calisthenics, empty your room and have fun. It's been great having you as panelists, okay? And I think we have done a good service, and I think we've given adequate advice to parents and to everybody who is watching us. And I'm sure they'll live a much more healthier life henceforth. Thank you for being a part of this panel.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
स्वतःच तू दुसरं लावलं ते लावलं